Hello and welcome to the Stateside Soccer Show, coming at you on a U.S. men's national team game day. In just about 2 hours from when we're recording, USA will take on Switzerland, and man, we gotta hope it is a lot better than the game against Turkey. My name is Jordan. With me, as always, is Logan. How are you today, Logan?
Good, yeah. No, I thought you were going to say that I hope it stays neutral. I mean, it probably will because Switzerland's involved. But
Oh, true. Yeah.
um,
So, would that mean they can let us win?
yeah, I,
Since we're
I I don't think
neutral?
they have enemies, right? So they've got to let us win. I think that's how that's
Does that
supposed
mean
to.
all their fans are neutral as well? They don't
Right? Yeah,
actually have
they just show
fans?
up
Is
with
that
the generic FIFA shirts on, blue
like
FIFA
Rob
shirt.
Lowe with the NFL hat? Like they're
Yes,
just there.
just like shows up to any. That's what I love about the celebrities too. Is like they try to always place celebrities with when most celebrities don't really have a team unless it's the Knicks or Lakers, but um, or like the LAFC. I guess they don't really root for New York, but nobody roots for New
Yeah.
York. But I'm good. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm, doing all right here. Today we're mainly focusing on some Club World Cup, Gold Cup, U.S. men's national team stuff that's going on. We got a transfer to talk about for one of the U.S. men's national team players as well. And of course, a couple MLS games that happened over the weekend that we'll kind of quickly discuss and then look ahead to the games ahead of us. I guess that's kind of technically what the whole episode is when we're previewing two tournaments, but looking at the MLS games that are going to be happening as well. But we're only like 4 days away from the Club World Cup, and I think like maybe 5 days away from the Gold Cup, or 4 days away from the Gold Cup as well. I think they might start the same time, but
That's weird. I had no idea that the Club World Cup was happening. I mean, we don't see any ads for it. I don't see a lot about
you
it. There's
see
not
a
really much
lot,
market.
don't you? Yeah, you're back.
All
The
right, the
storm got you.
storm got me there. Yeah, not the thunder, but the storm. But yeah, no, what I was saying was,
Hopefully the Thunder don't get you.
yeah, no, I hope not. We don't like thunder here in this household. But yeah, I think Jordan, it is funny just because it's the one thing that's been marketed the most on my TV. I mean, you got NBA finals on, you've got all these different tournaments on. I feel like the World Cup, the Club World Cup's been the most advertised. In fact, fun fact, Jordan, guess what I saw going? I mean, you probably know now because what we're talking about, but I saw a Club World Cup billboard. No lie, in
Really?
Orlando. Yeah, I was like, that's weird.
I feel like I actually have not seen that much Club World Cup stuff. I haven't watched a lot of TNT. When I did, I guess I didn't. I don't know if I didn't notice it or whatever. There were some times where I'm watching, like if you're watching like the Pacers, and I'd be watching it with you or something in spirit. Um, Not
It's
the
creepy.
Washington Spirit, but
Oh, gotcha.
watching in spirit with you, and sometimes it's on my phone while my wife is watching something else. So like I
Yeah.
have it on mute, or I'm editing something. So I don't know if I've just been missing it that way, or just I haven't caught every playoff game. So but I've heard people say it's been on like the NHL stuff. It was on the NBA stuff. So that's good that they're marketing it, because Turner is the one that's going to show select games instead of DAZN or whatever. But look, I don't know how this is going to go. It sounds like they had to slash prices again for the Club World Cup. When I looked at prices, recently, I could go to like a nobody versus nobody for like $40, but I like Chelsea games, Man City games were still like 100 some bucks a seat. Now I don't know if that's just the secondary market. So if nobody's buying those, the secondary market will end up slashing those like on game day and stuff. So we'll see how this tournament does. I think an article said like less than 25,000 seats have been sold for the opening match or something,
Ooh.
which is not a great sign on where things are heading. Unless if it's played in a smaller venue for for that. But I don't know. I mean, we'll see how it goes. I guess I think we're starting to hit this breaking point soon for tickets. I mean, we've been seeing that not just in sports but in concerts too. Like even what Beyonce's tour had, like tickets going for really cheap, and that seems like my sister just took my nephews to their first concert, Post Malone, and like she had bought my nephew tickets ahead of time, and then my other nephew and my brother-in-law bought tickets the day of for super cheap. I mean, it seems to be this theme that we're seeing with like concerts, sports, where at some point they're just getting to a point where, especially when you just look at the rest of the economy and stuff, it seems like people are kind of saying no thanks to that if it's absurd. And I think that's the point we need to hit sometimes is like, if this is absurd, just don't go. Say
Yeah.
no, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you'll see some changes. So maybe we'll see some changes as we go. But really curious to see how the tournament will do because it's not just the first one in America, it's the first one of this new format for the Club World Cup. So really curious to see how that's going to go.
Yeah,
Did
but
you
I think like a thing that it will be interesting to see how this plays out because if you're a Premier League fan or you're a fan of European football, you know that those teams aren't going to bring their best players. Like there's no way. Like they just finished I mean, Chelsea just finished their season, so I just don't see where they're going to come over and bring everybody in the world to come play. And a lot of these guys are in their off season, and usually these preseason games, Jordan, they happen in July because I can remember Man City and them would happen like into July. They would there was a game I remember they played Minnesota one time at the Golden Gophers
Mhm.
field, and it was end of July because August really starts the Premier League training camp, and then like then they're right into games. So it is weird to me that this tournament takes place in an off season for them.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how this is going to go for the players, right? We saw the Club World Cup protests from Seattle, and uh, you know, I don't know. I really don't know how this is going to go. I guess it's no different than really players going to a World Cup or a Euros or a Gold Cup, and that's why FIFA made that like, hey, the clubs have priority if they're in the Club World Cup for this, and it's like, I think only the Club World Cup is one that happens right now anyway. Like Euros is not this year,
No,
World Cup.
World Cup's next year. Yeah.
So I don't think Copa America is this year, right? So like
No.
um there is a bit of an opening here for them to have this. So I do wonder if players will I guess be as upset or if they'll feature as much, right? That's the thing too is while the prize money is big, how much does the club care about the competition, right? Now, of course, when you go to a World Cup, the nation cares, right? The nation
Yeah.
cares because that's the stage for your national team. You only
Right.
get World Cups and continental tournaments. That's all you get in life as a national team. But as a soccer club, where do you put the Club World Cup when you're like, "Ooh, I don't want to get anybody injured because I really want to make like Chelsea just got Champions League again." All right. They're obvious. Do you want to prioritize Club World Cup or do you want to make sure everybody's healthy so you can make a run in Champions League, which is your first year back in Champions League for a bit after you won the Conference League and also made top 4. Like that's a big achievement for Chelsea after the last couple of years. Seems like they have stability. Do you risk that and say we're going to play our players when we can be going at a run for the Champions League? Same thing with any club that gets Champions League football right now. If they're in this tournament, it's you have to balance. Do I give players a couple weeks off? Do I only play them one game of the tournament? Like, how do you balance this? Knowing full well that those players may have gone to their national team and played in qualifying or friendlies anyway. So that's tough for clubs, but what I'm saying is like national teams have nothing else but to go for those tournaments. Clubs can be like, we don't care about this. Like, yeah, it's great money, but we actually want to make Premier League. We want to win the Premier League. We want to win Serie A. We want to win the Champions League. We want to win the FA Cup instead of this. How prestigious is this? One way FIFA is trying to make it prestigious is by throwing money at it, right? And saying this is a huge pile of cash prizes. we'll see if that makes any of those clubs prioritize this. And I'm really going to be curious when that first Chelsea and Man City squads drop, Juve, all the big teams, when those squads drop and when they are picking their starting 11 against the lower level teams, are they putting out a B team, an A team, a C team? Like, what team are they putting out there? That's what I can't wait to see, honestly, because it'll tell us kind of how this is going to go. On the selfish side as well, it's going to tell us, like, does Miami, Seattle, LAFC have chances, depending on what type of squad this is.
Yeah, I found that website that obviously ranks all the possibilities of who could advance. And then I'm thinking, how does it know, like, percentage wise, just because how do we know what team we're gonna be able to see?
Right.
Playing some of these games. It just yeah. I this competition to me has always been kind of confusing, but I get it. It's cool in theory, but also it doesn't work because of the schedules we all play are different, and you got all these competitions, and this has been a big complaint for every player around the world, that there's just too many matches. And here we go, continuing to add more matches. So yeah, I don't know, something's got to give.
Okay, let's start off then. We got Group A: Palmeiras, Porto, Al Ahly, and Inter Miami CF. This kicks off on the 15th for Inter Miami against Al Ahly from Egypt. At Hard Rock Stadium. And then in MetLife Stadium, you're going to get the same day Palmeiras and Porto, which is a huge matchup. A Brazilian giant versus Porto, which is one of the biggest clubs in Portugal. Portugal, who just actually won the UEFA Nations League in a thrilling match that I was actually able to see this week. So that was great. Got to watch that while deconstructing my sofa. So yeah, we have some big matches here. Two clubs get to move on. Inter Miami has kind of been back in form again, but this seems to be maybe too much of a ask, right?
Yeah, I mean, with Porto and Palmeiras, I just feel I
Like,
think
those are going through.
yeah,
Like,
and you know what's bad, Jordan, is they probably got the best chance of going through out of the
out
groups.
of all of them, yeah.
Yeah, because it just, again, we just don't have the budget. We don't have the players. We don't have the depth. A lot of you're going to see depth exposed here because, I mean, Jordan, we're going to be playing semi-starting lineups, and they're going to run out their second teams or third teams, and they're going to be just as talented. So it'll be, yeah. This, you could make an argument as to maybe why some of this competition's not so good for MLS. Just because you get run off by a Porto team or a Palmeiras team that's getting their young players out there that are just better than the quality of players that they're going up against, the likes of Lionel Messi and squad. That's usually not good if they can take them down.
Yeah. I think this might just be way too tough. I mean, they're also going up against one of the most successful teams in Africa, right?
Yeah.
Al Ahly has won the African Federation's Champions League on 12 occasions.
Mm-hmm.
And they've won the Egyptian Top Flight 45 times.
Yeah.
Now, of course, I don't know how good the Egypt League is. I don't really follow that, and I don't know how good Africa's Champions League is either. But like, that's like, I don't know. It's not like Miami's won the CONCACAF Champions Cup. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of apples to apples there. I feel like with it's not like UEFA Champions League that we're comparing here. So that'll be interesting. I think this group will be one of the most fun to watch, though. I think
Mhm.
all of these teams seem to be very, very good. Miami's going to technically be at home, but I just for their first and last games, for the middle game, they'll be in Atlanta. but I don't know if there's really home field advantage in this type of thing. Like, you're going to have people that are Porto, Palmeiras, especially in Florida. You're going to have the
I
Brazilian
was going to
fans
say,
there.
yeah, Palmeiras will
That's going to be a home game for
Yeah.
Palmeiras.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know how that's
It'll be
gonna
fun to see Messi play against, like,
Yeah,
I mean,
this is what the
European
Club World
teams.
Cup is about.
Again,
Like, getting him back into
yeah,
facing these big giants. Yeah, and
yeah.
plus it being a Brazilian team when he's Argentinian, like, I
I was going
like
to say,
that
that's
too.
usually a
Like,
nice
that's a
rivalry.
cool, it's a
Yeah.
cool little thing. But
I'm surprised they didn't try to get, is it Al Nassr? That's which one's Ronaldo on?
he's not on anything right
Oh,
now.
that's right.
I
He's
think
not signed yet,
gone.
is
Yeah,
he? Yeah. I mean,
no,
he's
but
in
he just won the
supporting
Nations
Kansas
League.
City. I think he's going to come back. Sign with the
Yeah,
SKC,
yeah.
remember?
No, they'll try to get him on one of these Club World Cup teams.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Fit him in there.
Let's talk about Group B. Well, I guess if you had to make are we both predicting Palmeiras and Porto moving on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Group B, PSG. They just won the Champions League, by the way. Atletico Madrid, Botafogo from Brazil, and Seattle Sounders, who just had 2 red cards against Vancouver and a loss.
Jordan, that is quite a drastic difference between between the Champions League's winners and you got 2 red cards on Saturday.
What are our chances here for Seattle getting out of this?
Jordan, if there was anything less than 0, I would go with it. Atletico and PSG, no thank you. Like, no chance at all. Not to mention that Botafogo's really good too. So Jordan, I don't see it. This is I wouldn't be shocked if the Sounders came in last in this one, just because I don't know. Do they play all their? That's the other thing too, is do they play all their players after you get smashed in? Like,
I would probably agree with that. I think that most likely Seattle finishes last. And everybody knows how much of a soft spot I have for Seattle, if you listen to this podcast long enough. So
you don't have them beating PSG, huh?
Dude, I watched PSG annihilate Inter Milan 5-0. I was so excited for that game.
They're young.
I was like, I get to watch a Champions League final. I'm gonna sit down and oh god, like in 20.
Oh god,
it was like 2 minutes in. I'm like, oh my god, this is awful. And
George, you know they're the second youngest team to ever win the UEFA Champions League.
Yeah, they were. That's the thing. They're so young and they're so good. Like, they couldn't win that crap with Mbappe, Neymar, and Messi, and they go out there and win it with all their youth. Like, that is incredible. And if they take this seriously, that's the thing, right? Do they take this seriously here?
Even if they don't,
they can. Well, I mean, like, they can win it. You know, like if they don't take it seriously, they're probably still getting out of the group. But if they take it seriously, they could win this thing. And if I'm them, I would. Like, I feel like I would be like, we just won our first UEFA Champions League after trying to do so for so long. Let's get this other trophy right now and call ourselves world champs and just say that we won like a Champions League and a Club World Cup back to back, kind of like a double, right? Like, they won it back to back, and these are going up against, it's not like those 7-team Club World Cups that people have before been like, we're world champs. Like, this is a 32-team gauntlet that has teams like Chelsea, Man City, and also has just teams from around the world. This would be like, and you'd also see, I feel like, though, if I was any club, I would take this seriously, because I'd be like, it's the first one. It's the first one of this format.
Yeah.
I would want to be that trivia question that's like, who was the first one to win the expanded format of the Club World Cup? You know, like, that feels like a pretty big deal. But PSG will be hard to move on from. Atletico is going to be tough to go past. Like, those two have got to be the ones that move on, right? Like,
but Botafogo's really good. Like,
I don't know them well enough, but I mean, like, when you're talking about Atletico Madrid, who, you know, just finished 3rd in La Liga, one of the best
Julian
leagues.
Alvarez. Yeah.
one of the best leagues, and you have PSG who won their league and also won a Champions League, right? It's hard. It's hard to. These are 2 top 5 leagues, and it's like some of the best teams in those. It's not like obviously because it's a Club World Cup, you're not getting like the Leons right now. You're getting PSG, you're getting
Southampton.
Atletico.
Damn.
Yeah, no Southampton. Yeah, Sounders not looking good. They will open this tournament on the 15th at Lumen Field against Botafogo. And then they will face Atletico Madrid on the 19th at Lumen. And then they will also play PSG 3 days before my birthday, Logan, on June 23rd at Lumen Field. So they get all 3 home games. We're not going to spend much time on Group C, but we have Bayern Munich, Auckland City, Boca Juniors, and Benfica. This is such a good group. I'm so sorry, Auckland City. Group. You are gone. You are going to the depths because you're going to have Bayern, Boca Juniors, and Benfica. Like, any one of those. It's got to be Bayern and Benfica, but it could be Bayern and Boca. Like, it's not going to be Auckland. I'm sorry.
I should have lowered my Auckland kit. I have one.
Yeah. Are you rooting for them?
Well, I've got to, but that's not going to go well.
Jordan, every single against Munich. Jordan, every single
right, but every single one of my rooting interests. Well, okay, maybe River Plate.
City has a chance. Well. Come on.
Okay, yeah, but like, again, who do they play? I mean, they might be trying out all sorts of new guys, but I don't know. Like, all my rooting interest outside of City, like River Plate. I mean, yeah, City should win theirs. I've never heard of Al Ain and Wydad. I don't even know what that is. What is that team? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it should be City and Juve. We'll get to that group shortly, but yeah, I think we definitely have Bayern, and that's a toss-up for Boca Juniors and Benfica. I feel like most people would pick the UEFA team, but like Boca is a good team.
I was going to say people underestimate Boca.
Boca is great. Like now they finished 6 in 2024. It says where they finished this year. Have they not finished yet?
No, I think they're on the same calendar we are, aren't they?
I guess so. Oh, I don't know. They're on their 3rd manager this year, so who knows how Boca's going.
Oh, then I guess they're not. They're on.
They had a manager until April 29th, and they had an interim for a month, and then they have their new manager since June 2nd. So we'll see where they go. But I mean, they're like a historically good club, so I mean, I can't rule them out. All right, Group D, another American club in here. We got Flamengo. We have Tunis. We have Chelsea. Keep that blue flag flying high. And we got LAFC. This is the club that this is the group LAFC is joined into. Chelsea will actually kick off against LAFC on June 16th at 3 o'clock in Atlanta. Then you'll have Flamengo and Tunis in Philly later that night. Flamengo and Chelsea in Philly on June 20th, which is just what a matchup that is. I'm really, really excited for that one. Not going, unfortunately. And then at Camping World Stadium, you're going to have LAFC versus Flamengo. And then Chelsea will face Tunis in Philly on June 24th, just 2 days before my birthday. But also LA will face Tunis on June 20th in Nashville. So I don't know. I feel like it's got to be Flamengo and Chelsea, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I again, like, people are probably listening to this going, gosh, they're not giving MLS any chance. No, we're not.
Well, here's the thing.
Those are tough groups, man.
When it comes to the Club World Cup, while it is not the 7-team tournament anymore, or whatever, it is. All right. The reason they're putting these clubs in the groups that they are, they're going to say is because of this thing, this thing, this thing. No. They're putting it so those 2 best teams do get out of the group, And then the knockout stage is just big club versus big club versus
Yeah.
big club versus big club. That is the point of this tournament.
Yeah. Well,
They
I
don't
mean, think
care.
about it. They've always wanted Jordan. They've said this many times, and Premier League is leaning closer and closer to this. UEFA's leaned into this some too, and they're leaning into it somewhat to help the FIFA World Cup. Is they're trying to get a big fan base in the US. Like, we are a huge market. We appeal to many people, and we have for a very long time. That's why the Premier League it does the things that it does. Jordan, they've been chomping at the bit to play a Premier League game here, a match during the
Yeah.
season here.
Well,
So
it's not
this
just that
is
too. It's also FIFA's power play here to get a slice of the UEFA pie.
yeah,
Right? If you
yeah,
give most of the qualification spots to UEFA and you stack the groups in favor of UEFA, you pretty much have the UEFA Champions League in the middle of a summer in the
right.
United States that FIFA gets all the money from.
Yeah.
And that is the goal, right?
It's like a world tour, like when after the
Yeah.
season's over. It's like parading them across. I mean, it's basically what they've always done with these
It's like what
tours. And
the
the
Savannah Bananas are
right,
doing.
right. It's just to show off these teams that they're going to bring some talent. Like, you're going to see some players that are some top level talent play in these games, but for the most part, I think you're going to see a lot of the academy kids or secondary bench players that coaches want to see more of. So,
Group E has River Plate,
yeah,
the Red Diamonds from
yeah,
Japan. That's cool. Monterrey
an
and
interesting
Inter
group.
Milan.
Yeah, it's an interesting group.
I would assume River Plate and Milan go through. That'd be my guess.
Yeah, don't know
Don't have to
about
spend
the
too
Red
much on that.
Diamonds. I don't know much about that team.
No, but historically, I don't think the Japanese soccer teams, while they like
The
that,
nation's
I feel
good.
like it's an equivalent of like an MLS team trying to go up
Yeah,
against these guys. Kind of what I would say.
yeah.
Group F stands for forget about it. We got Fluminense, Borussia Dortmund. Those are your two teams that are going to go through. But we also have South Korean team Ulsan HD and South African team Mamelodi Sundowns. What a
What a
cool
cool
name.
name. Yeah,
And
I
their
need to get
logo is
me.
this.
Can we get a sponsorship, Jordan? Can we are the
Dude,
official
do you know what their crest saying is?
losers.
The sky is the limit.
Yeah,
How
we
cool
need
is
to
that
get.
for Sundowns?
All right, I'm
Sky
gonna
is
look
the
up.
limit.
Let's look up. I want a kit from them.
They won. They were the champions
Oh,
of the
sorry.
league.
What does their kit look like? Maybe it's cool. Maybe we can
It looks
become
like
the.
Brazil's. It's like
It's
yellow
green
with
and yellow.
green and blue
Gotcha.
shorts. It's like exactly
Oh,
like
that's
Brazil.
pretty solid though. Oh, dude, I watched the game played here. Not in person, but on. Oh, this is when I was watching the AFCON.
Oh,
The stadium was cool. I like the stadium they play at. Yeah, they that's where they play AFCON games, at their stadium. Yeah, it does look. I mean, those look like they've just taken Brazilian kits and we're making those our own.
yeah. Good
But
for them.
I do like I like their logo a lot.
Yeah, no, I do. I do too. Put them in
Yeah.
FIFA. Let's go.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be Fluminense and Dortmund that
Yeah.
move on, I think. But
Borussia Dortmund.
all right, let's see. We have Group G: Manchester City,
Yeah.
Wydad AC, Al Ain, and Juve. So City and Juve moving on there.
That might be the biggest lock of the whole.
It might be. And then we have Group H: Real Madrid, Al Hilal, Pachuca, and Red Bull Salzburg. Just
That one's
another
interesting.
banger of a group. This is a good group.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Like Madrid, I assume, go out of it, but the other three, that's a weird
The other
mix.
three, it's a toss up. I really feel like I would almost lean Pachuca, but like Red Bull Salzburg is good. Al
Yeah.
Hilal is good. Like,
Let's see
I
what
don't
the
know, man.
stats. Let me see. Okay, so 93% to qualify for Real Madrid. 76 to move to be favorited in the top of their group. Al Hilal would be next at 55, or sorry, 50%. Salzburg 34, Pachuca 21. But again, these are considering that they play all their players. Like these stats are those are coming off of Al Hilal is going to show up with every single one of their cast-offs from the Premier League because they got like all the old ex-Liverpool players, I think. If I'm thinking of the right club.
All right. Any last thoughts on Club World Cup before we go over to Gold Cup?
I'm interested to see what it's like. I think we'll be underwhelmed. I think that we'll be underwhelmed. The teams that are supposed to win it will win it anyway. But it's again, it's a summer tour for these teams. Like they're not going to bring their best of the best. So
as long as the games are good, I think that'll be a win. So let's say Chelsea and Man City don't even put out their best players.
Yeah, it'll be more uneven
but
ground.
They get to but they're facing off against like Inter Milan or PSG in the round of 16, the round of quarterfinals, whatever.
Yeah.
And those are like good games, thrilling games, end-to-end action. Like that'll be a win because people will have their eyes on them anyway, just because it's Chelsea, just because it's City, just because it's Real
a lot
Madrid.
of the young kids that'll get to play that are up and coming. So,
all right, let's take a look at the Gold Cup now. Kicks off Saturday, June 14th. Mexico taking on the Dominican Republic at SoFi Stadium. USA will kick off June 15th against Trinidad and Tobago. That is at 5:30 p.m. on Fox. Then we have 4 days, Thursday, June 19th at 9 o'clock against Saudi Arabia on FS1. And then Sunday, June 22nd at 6 o'clock versus Haiti on Fox. Then we'll see if we get through there. Hopefully we get through there, right?
Hopefully. Yeah, that's the goal.
I mean, I guess just like vibes going into this. So if I was just, we talked last week about the whole, I think it was last week, about some of the players taking a rest. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago. Pulisic pulled out, right? We kind of, I think we both agreed with what Landon Donovan was saying when he's talking about, for some of these players, it's not a priority. And I don't think that is necessarily, I don't hate anybody for that. I think some of these players now have grown up watching European soccer, and that's been their end goal. Those are also the clubs that pay them. So there is, I think, a little bit on some players' side where they're like, Gold Cup, I don't really care until the World Cup. And they might be taking some rest. Like Yunus Musa asked for some rest. He's still pretty young. I don't know if he would actually need the rest at this age. I mean, I guess players need rest anyway. But I mean, here's the thing. People have called out Donovan for being hypocritical because of his sabbatical. I do think there's some clear differences between what Donovan did and what Pulisic is doing. Not that he even called out Pulisic by name, but Pulisic's dad called out Landon Donovan by name, and Pulisic liked the post. So that's interesting what we got going on here. But Landon Donovan, it was in his 30s, and at that point, he had already been playing MLS. And then in the winter, he would go over to Everton and play in the winter transfer window for Everton. And then he would go back to MLS to play his season. And then in the summers, he'd play for the U.S. It was nonstop. And at that point, I think he was already our highest goal scorer. He was the legend that he was when he took his sabbatical. And it was mostly for mental health, not just rest. So if what I want to say is I agree with players taking rest, but I also definitely agree with players taking a mental break if it is, we always say that mental health matters, but as soon as a player does what Landon Donovan did, people still haven't forgiven him for it. There's still people that give him crap for it. That led to Klinsmann, who's come out and said so, that because he took that sabbatical, he pretty much left him off the World Cup roster. which is insane, but that's what happened. He missed like what 2 qualifiers, I think, and a couple like a Gold Cup or a couple friendlies or something like that. But he came back, played the next Gold Cup because we have one of these every 2 years for some godforsaken reason, and was super good in it. And then he also had a really great LA Galaxy season, and then was left off the World Cup. Now, I do put the caveat here that, obviously I think Pulisic is playing at a higher league, playing for Inter Milan, for AC Milan, and the fact that he is playing Champions League football, it's a very long season. But I don't even mind it in the sense of there's nothing for him to prove going into this Gold Cup, so I'm fine with him staying healthy. I do think Donovan was trying to approach this the right way without really saying by name. I don't like when players' parents jump into this stuff. So I don't like Mark Pulisic being like calling out Landon Donovan. I don't like Pulisic liking it. I don't like any of that stuff. You are at the age now where you do not need your dad to say so. It feels very Reina-esque in that regard. And I get it. I get wanting to defend your kid. I do.
Right.
I understand that. I kind of understand all sides here, but I think some things are maybe left not being posted on social media. And if you have a problem with it, maybe reach out to Landon Donovan directly. You guys are 2 of the biggest U.S. players of all time. I'm sure you can have a meeting and talk about that. And plus, it then just creates all this fan drama that's going into and distractions we don't need. I don't really like any of this that's going on right now, especially because I said a couple weeks ago or whatever, I agree with both Donovan taking that rest and I agree with Pulisic taking this rest. And now it seems like they're both kind of going at it, or definitely more one-sided on that. It's just, I don't know, man. I guess there is a real question we have, and I think that's the other thing. We have a big question about this team that wasn't there when Donovan took his sabbatical too. We knew he would be back. And we knew that he would score when he needs to. I just don't know when it comes to Pulisic. I don't question his heart on the team. I don't question his ability. But he hasn't had the career Donovan has had of coming up in the big clutch moments that kind of lets him get that pass from some fans. Like I've seen some fans being really upset with Pulisic because of that, I think. And I think that is just everybody's got to take it down a notch, I think. That's discussing this, just kind of like take a break, relax. It's the Gold Cup. I understand it's our last big tournament, but I seen people point it out. We won the Gold Cup in 2017 and failed to qualify in 18. It does not mean anything at all at this point. You just try to get through with all your players being healthy. Hope that these tune-ups in the friendlies coming up to the World Cup go well. And then it's all on the table, for the World Cup. But I think sometimes we just get so in the weeds for this stuff, and people are bickering back and forth on social media, also off of social media now. People are taking sides, and it's just like, take it down a notch, right? Like I don't want to be discussing this. I want to be discussing the Gold Cup.
Yeah, you always want to be discussing what's going on the field. Jordan, do we have a problem with this generation as far as, I want to put this very nicely. No, I can't. Do we have a problem with entitlement with this group? Specifically this group? This is now 3 people. Reina, Pulisic, Weston McKennie, who have had issues with themselves on the field and then their parents getting involved. Like, that's very strange to me. Even you could even throw Wolf in there too. Like, I feel like that whole thing in Austin had a lot to do with the bad blood with the US too. So like, even though Josh Wolf and his son aren't really involved yet with US, like I just feel like with Berhalter and all of this stuff, like it it feels very, you know what it feels like? It feels like youth sports. Like that's what it feels like.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
weird. Like it's so weird. And that's a problem. I will say, Jordan, that is a universal problem across the United States is youth sports is taken way too seriously nowadays. Like it is the end all that your kid must play, that he must get this time, she must get this time, she's got to do this, he's got to do that. Like it's just this culture we've built. But then you look at the younger players like the Sullivans, and we know the background with them because we've seen them in documentaries where they are very hard on their kids, but
Mhm.
rightfully so. Those kids respect their father. Like you can tell, like that. It's just I don't know. It's a really weird thing that I've noticed with this group specifically, and it all starts with that core group of, well, and Pulisic is not really. He's not one that's been much of an issue, obviously, but like this now causes issues. Like this now, you're the captain, and like you said, Jordan, where's the maturity to go, you know what? I'm not even gonna like most good players, Jordan, don't have to go online to try to defend themselves. You know what they do? They have private conversations, they play on the field, and that's how you solve it.
Yeah, because he posted
You know,
today too.
yeah,
Pulisic
just
posted a picture of him on vacation, said just what the doctor ordered, which of course is I feel like
it's a slight.
uh, it's a slight, it's saying like, hey, this was good for me.
Yeah.
Kind of back off is kind of how I read it, but
I'm all for mental health, but I'm leaning more into the fact of like I'm starting to feel like we have issues with the player pool and that stigma that exists around them, that narrative that this team is soft, that narrative that this team is entitled, that they felt like they were just going to come in and be this golden generation because they've been deemed that. I mean, it's kind of accurate for some of these players.
I can agree with that. I do think there is a certain level of it. Like you said, it's very youth sports, and I feel like that's when you see a lot of the most entitlement, right? The
Yeah.
player, like parents complaining
At
to the
this
coach,
talent
and
level too. Yeah.
we don't really see this in many other sports. Like, do you ever really, maybe basketball, because some of the players' parents are kind of on social media, but like I
Yeah,
never
but
really see like Lamar's mom talking about like coming at like Shannon Sharp for
right.
not liking Lamar. Like we don't
Yeah.
see that.
Yeah.
We don't see
No.
like a lot of
No.
those players have the mentality of like I'll prove you wrong
Yes.
on the field.
Yes.
Uh we don't get a lot of I'm going to like my dad's post that calls
Yeah.
out this former player who is the greatest American player of all time. We don't get a lot of that.
No.
In any sport, and it is mind-boggling that it happens here. It does feel like a very soccer problem, though. I would
It
say,
is.
like, um, I don't know. It is mind-boggling. It really is because uh, again, I understand if their priority is not the national team because of things like maybe they didn't grow up watching the national team. There's some dual
Right.
nationals that are like that for sure. I'm not trying to like call them out, but some of those players probably never really had a thought of playing for the U.S. national team anyway until they were approached. That's fine. But for players like Donovan and Dempsey and Tim Howard and
Yeah.
even the players back in like Lawless's era when there wasn't a league,
Right.
this was the pinnacle. This is not the pinnacle anymore.
No.
Um,
It's big
it
clubs.
was also a
Lots of
pinnacle
money.
for like Donovan and Dempsey and stuff because watching overseas soccer was a lot tougher than now. These players now are watching the Champions League finals. They can watch
Yeah.
the Nations League. They make big competitions with their favorite players and say, I want to be like them. And their favorite players are not necessarily American players. Um, so it kind of puts, I feel like, some spin on it, on that as well.
And I think, an interesting point too to talk about is that, like you just mentioned, I think that it also it speaks highly of our players to be able to go play in those clubs, Jordan. But I think also with it, you understand the generation of Landon Donovan, of Dempsey, of Howard, Jordan. They didn't play at big Premier League clubs. Like those guys fought to get to European clubs, but ended up coming back to the U.S. Like what you said, the pinnacle was the U.S. But Jordan, the pinnacle was the U.S. because I feel like that generation, that was like DeMarcus Beasley and them, Jordan, that generation was like, they were mean. Like they wanted to
The
prove people
American
wrong.
spirit.
They were the
Exactly.
underdogs. Like they were, nobody counts us in, nobody likes us, everybody talks crap about
But
us.
don't you feel
We
like this generation should have that too?
They should, but they don't because of where they play. Like
Yeah,
because
but
of
even
the
where
teams
they
they
play,
played
like
on.
Pulisic got pushed out of Chelsea.
Yeah, but I don't think that was enough
Brandon
for
Aronson
him.
got pushed out of Leeds for a bit. Like, how are none of these players taking that personally?
I mean, I think guys like Brendan Aronson would, like, he seems like somebody that would, but Jordan, I do. I feel like because there's big money elsewhere, they don't really see it as a knock. And because the Champions League, I think, is in European soccer, especially from the American point of view, the Champions League's the big haul, right? Because we know who's going to win the Premier League. I mean, there's two teams that are going to win the Premier League. There's two teams that could win La Liga, maybe three. Liga Un, there's one team that usually wins it. So, like, it's not really that all that shocking. If you're not on those teams, you're not really competing for a title. But the Champions League is, and I think because it does seem like other clubs can, like Italian clubs and French clubs can play each other in the Champions League final. I feel like they don't see it as a demotion. They see it as a lateral move where, let's be honest, Jordan, the best soccer comes out of England. It just does. Like that's the best league in the world. And people will argue with it, but if you look up and down those teams, those are easily the best teams. You take those teams and put them in other leagues, like the England teams would withstand all of them. So it just, I don't know. But I don't think they see it that way, Jordan. I think they see, oh, big money in Italy. I'm gonna go play for a top team in Italy. Who cares if it's Inter Milan or Chelsea or
True.
PSG or so. There's just, but like Landon Jordan, they couldn't even hardly make teams over in Europe. Like that's because there was just this stigma behind U.S. players. They did it late in their career, but like you said, scouting and development was so different back then, like when Landon and them played, but they had to work for everything they've got. These kids didn't have to work for much. Like they've worked hard to get where they are, but they didn't have to do what Landon Donovan did or Dempsey did or Howard did. Like that's just not, those guys, man, they've seen stuff. This team has not seen stuff.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I'm really curious how this is going to go. Like, at a certain point, people are going to put pressure on Pochettino, and I get
Not his
that.
fault.
But I do wonder, like, are we going to just look back 5 years
That
from
this was the
now
beginning
and
of
be
what was
like,
actually,
and just be like, man, this team really didn't live up to it. And then now we're looking for those next players.
which I think the next generation is. Like you look around the league, Jordan, look around MLS. Those dudes are tough. Like the Sullivan brothers are tough. Like Jack McGlynn, tough. Brendan Aronson. I mean, Paxton. Like those kids are mean, man. Like those kids are feisty and they come from the MLS academies, is where they come from. They have to fight.
Jack McGlynn, by the way, scored the only goal against
Yeah.
Turkey very early in the game, and I was like, this is going perfect. And then it was like
Yeah.
1-1, 2-1.
Yeah.
And I was like, crap, that sucks.
Yeah. Diego
Not a
Luna.
great.
Like, look at all the young players that they have. Brian
Yeah.
White, there's a reason why he's more feisty than the rest of them. Dude's been doubted his whole career. Matt
That's why
Turner. Like,
that's why I think there is such a like you need a mix of both.
yeah,
You need the players that have been cast aside and have a chip on their shoulder, and then you also need kind of the like
pure
very
talent.
talented
Oh.
players. You need both, and hopefully, when the World Cup comes around, we have both on the pitch and we're playing well. Because this Gold Cup really isn't doing anything for me this year. Like we're previewing it, and I'm like, just kind of get me through it, right? Like I'm actually more excited for the Club World Cup than the Gold Cup because I don't think this Gold Cup is going to teach us anything about Pochettino or this team. I really don't.
You might get some really good young players that are promising that play well in this one. I think that's more of what you would look for. I mean, it sounds like to this point, Tim Ream's going to be on the World Cup team, which is a massive get, I guess. I mean, depending on what he looks like next season. But I mean, you look around the roster, there's guys that are like Chris Richards, when healthy, has been really good. Mark McKenzie, I think, has good potential. Tyler Adams getting back into the mix because he's been hurt for quite some time over the last couple of years. But a lot of it's Jordan, a lot of these fringe players that could end up being very impactful going forward for the future of this club. Like Paxton and Brendan, like that's wild. Both on the same
Yeah.
team.
Yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. I think most people have kind of written off Brendan at least. I'm not sure where people kind of sit with Paxton.
Yeah.
Fan wise, I mean, like I don't know. But they write off most people. So we'll see. But it is tough because we also don't have McKennie, Reyna, all them because of the Club World Cup. So it is a very different roster than I think we would have usually had. And we'll see. But I don't know. Again, it doesn't really mean anything. We won 2017 and then we did not qualify for the World Cup. So who knows? You'd love to see some improvement since the Nations League went the other way. Like, hopefully we are playing good. I'll never root for this team to lose. So, hopefully they're out there winning every game and we can play beautiful soccer. So it makes me feel a little better going into next year. That's kind of where I sit with it.
But the other thing too is like, I think what's so frustrating about, and I get it, you have to take your breaks, but it's just so frustrating because we are now running out of meaningful games before the World Cup, and this team is no better than what it was the last World Cup. That's my honest opinion. Like, I don't think we're any better. I think we could argue we're almost worse. Like,
we are worse since 2020. If you're talking about 2022, we are worse. Yes, I would say that for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it looks like we've got no direction in the forward position. We just hope Brian White sticks. Like, that's really it. That's what it's come down to. Gio Reyna can't find a club. Like, everybody's like, yeah, no thanks. I mean, I think eventually he ends up back in MLS. But
I don't know. I think he will find something.
I don't know.
It just won't be a big club that people have thought he would be at. We thought at this point he would have been breezing through Dortmund and he'd be at like a city, like his father.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's not happening anytime soon. So
we've thought out a lot of them.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the matches that took place this weekend. We had Chicago scoring a touchdown on DC United. I tell you, every time I thought this game was over, I kept getting a notification of another goal. And I was like, what is going on in this game? Because it was like 8 minutes in, 24th minute in, 30 minutes in. At 30 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, this game's done. And then 44th minute, 56th minute, 65 minute, Barlow scoring a hat trick, 90+1 for Gutierrez. It took Baji 60 minutes to get one for DC. Talk about a directionless team, DC United. But Chicago, this was on the road at Audi. That's even worse. This was at home and you lose by a touchdown. What are you doing?
It's a good thing they missed their extra point. They were within reach.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's brutal. But Chicago, they're back.
So back. Like, I mean, look at them.
They're in the playoff spot. They are literally back in a playoff spot. Yeah.
And they're a game in hand over a lot of them. That's crazy.
12th. Yeah.
Jordan, if they win that game in hand, they can move all the way up in the tie with Columbus.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they're doing well. Greg Berhalter.
So happy. Bring Greg back.
Austin beating Columbus 2-0. I didn't see much about that game.
No, I don't think many did. It was a fan base.
So Sunday, Portland beat St. Louis 2-1. LAFC beat SKC 3-1. And Vancouver beat Seattle 3-0. And I was left with a choice when I finally had a chance to sit down and watch one of these games on Sunday. 1-1 LAFC SKC. in the second half, or 1-0 Vancouver, Seattle with their man down. And I decided Vancouver, Seattle. And as soon as I turned it on, that second red card happened within a span of minutes.
Yeah.
I think it was the 53rd and 55th minutes, 52nd and 55 minutes for the red cards. And Vancouver scored like not long after that, 15 minutes later, to make it 2-0 up 2 men. And I was like, yeah, this is over. And then they put another one away through Krylock in the 88th minute. So Vancouver keeping it going in the West. They have 35 points, one more than Philly, but they got a game in hand. Now, of course, that's pretty good for Vancouver too, because they had a bunch of players who were maybe not able to play. In the run-up to this game, there was lots of reports that they had some stomach issues like the Crew had last year, thanks to their travels down to Mexico for the for the Champions Cup final. So, hey, not bad to be like, oh my God, we might be missing all these players, and then winning 3-0. So that was pretty good for Vancouver. They stay above 2 points per game. They got 2.19. They only have one loss on the season still. They're flying high.
You want to know the most impressive thing about this, Jordan? They have the game in hand, so they could be 8 points clear of San Diego at this point.
Yeah.
Second, Jordan, last year, Inter Miami's 74 points in the Eastern Conference. You know what their points per game was? 2.18. Vancouver's on the same path that Inter Miami was last season.
Man, do we know where
that good?
Do we know where Miami was 16 games into the season last year? I wish I could find that out. It doesn't let me do that, I don't think.
Last year, maybe I can do form guide. Yeah, I can do it by year. Okay, last year, and you said what? 26,
16 games in.
Miami? Okay.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 wins.
10 wins, 10 times 3, 30.
4 draws.
34 points.
Yeah.
So they're a point ahead.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
The record breaking, so they could technically break the record.
That's insane. And I mean, we've talked about it. The Western Conference has not been as strong. They're going to play a lot more Western Conference teams than there are Eastern Conference teams.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, because where we sit right now is Vancouver, 5-point lead over San Diego. Then Minnesota is also on 30 points. Portland's on 29. LAFC is on 26. Seattle's on 26. Austin's on 23. San Jose's on 22. Colorado's on 22. That's the playoff teams. Outside the playoffs, Houston's on 20. Dallas is on 18. SKC's at 16. RSL's at 15. St. Louis is at 14. And the LA Galaxy are still at 7. Now, of course, they didn't play. Over in the East, we got Philly with 34. Cincy with 30. Miami with 29. Nashville with 29. Columbus with 28, Red Bulls with 27, Orlando with 27. Very more, it seems tighter, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the East. And then you have Charlotte and Fire with 25 points. Those are your wild card teams. Outside of the wild card, you have NYCFC, who's also has 25, the Revs with 23. Then kind of a bigger gap here. DC was 18, Atlanta with 17, Toronto with 13, Montreal with 8. And that's your current standings for the playoffs on the East. All right, so what does that lead us to coming up? We have the Canadian Championship on Wednesday. That is Ottawa versus York United. Did none of the big teams make it to this, or is this not the championship?
This is the quarterfinals.
Quarterfinals. Okay. So this is a quarterfinal matchup. Then on Thursday, we have NYCFC in Atlanta at 7:30. Friday, we have Portland and San Jose. And we have games on Saturday. St. Louis and LA Galaxy battle for the bottom of the Western Conference at 4:30. It's also on Fox.
Oh my gosh,
7:30.
it's a big Fox game.
It is.
That's rough.
7:30. Columbus, Vancouver, New England, Cincy, Philly, Charlotte. 8 o'clock. Club World Cup game. Miami is going to be playing against Al Ale. 8:30. Austin, Red Bull, New York. Chicago, Nashville. Houston, Montreal. Minnesota, San Diego. SKC, Dallas. 9:30. We have Colorado, Orlando. RSL, DC. And then a Mexico Gold Cup game kicking it all off 10:15 at 1 at 1 FS1. Sunday, no games for MLS. We got Club World Cup, we got Gold Cup, all that good stuff.
National team.
Yeah, that's the Gold Cup.
Oh,
Monday,
yeah.
June 16th. Just more Gold Cup, World Cup, Gold Cup. Okay, when's the next? All right, so we'll be good. So we only have those games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So Logan, I usually throw to you for these things first, but I'm going to pick my shame of the week first.
Oh,
I'm going with St. Louis, LA. I'm going.
Yeah.
I'm calling that one early.
How dare you? Yeah.
My game of the week, I am going to go Philly, Charlotte. I think it's a good one.
Yeah. I will go my shame of the week. I'll go Montreal, Houston. Both out of playoff spots. Montreal could win the Wooden Spoon. That's a really bad game. Game of the week is definitely Loons and San Diego, second and third in the Western Conference. Those are two very good teams. They both sit on 30 points, Jordan. They're looking for second place, sole ownership of second. So I don't know. That should be an interesting one. It's at Allianz, so Loons advantage there. And I think it'll be a game that'll be really instrumental, I think, going down the stretch. I mean, sometimes 1 point can be the difference, Jordan. And if one of those teams can win a game against each other, or even if San Diego can split, do a 1-1 draw, 2-2 draw, whatever it might be, I think you got to feel pretty good about that. So I'm watching that game, and I can't wait to see all the chaos that's about to ensue with Club World Cup, Gold Cup. Lots of interesting storylines, I think, going into some of these games with different teams and different levels of players. And we'll reconvene next week, and we'll maybe look at the lineups and see if we can even recognize some of these players that these teams are throwing out there.
Sounds good. All right. Well, hopefully everybody is looking forward to these competitions just as much as we are. Give us your thoughts. Does MLS teams have a shot in this Club World Cup? Will the U.S. men's national team do good in this Gold Cup? Are they better since 2022 Qatar World Cup? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. You can contact us at Stateside Show on all of our social media. Thank you all for watching and listening along, and we'll catch you next time.